Good evening, Alan Glad from the law firm of Cuddy & Thayer on behalf of the applicants and owners. We also have a full complement of our project team here with us this evening, so if there's any outstanding questions, please let us know. But I believe the last time we were here was in May when you authorized your consultants to prepare a neg deck. There were a couple hiccups in June and July, so I believe we're here this evening to take action on seeker. So I'll defer to Max once he's settled, but if anyone has any questions, please let us know.
Is on now? Yeah, so when we were last here, we had provided a draft Part 3 EAF to the planning board. I think you had that now probably for 45 days to 60 days to review. Since that time also, special counsel has worked on a resolution which would adopt the Part 3 EAF and the negative declaration. There were a couple of housekeeping changes that were suggested to the Part 3 EAF. Those involve really clarifying a couple of nuances with regard to the amount of wetland disturbance to make sure that it appropriately accounted for the total amount, the amount in Ulster, and the amount in the town of Woodstock. These were non-substantive changes in terms of the information was already in the EAF. It was presented more consistently throughout to avoid confusion. So if the board has any questions, if you reviewed the Part 3 EAF, I'm available to answer questions. We can have the applicant answer any questions as necessary. Absent that, Jason has worked with special counsel to provide the resolution. There's two pieces of document. One is the negative declaration. The Part 3 EAF is adopted. That answers how or if the impacts identified in the Part 2 have been adequately addressed. The negative declaration, if you agree that the EAF properly addresses those, makes a finding that the project will not have a significant adverse impact on the environment. That would conclude the seeker process at this time, and it would allow you to move forward with scheduling a public hearing. A lot of people feel this is odd, that in New York State we have to make this determination before we hear from the public. It is absolutely the way seeker is designed, and in the case that something comes up in the course of the public hearing that you believe changes your determination, you can reopen seeker to explore that further, or you can amend it and say that something has come up, you still believe a negative declaration could be adopted, or in the result that you feel it changes your mind with regard to significant impact, you can rescind the neg deck and require an EIS. So this is really, at this point, a measure to say you've reviewed the facts as presented by the applicant, as peer reviewed by your consultants. You concur with our conclusion that while there will be impacts, they're not significant or adverse, and that you are opening the door to the public coming and speaking at a forthcoming meeting. So the resolution reads as follows. Resolution adopting a secret negative declaration for the Xena Home subdivision, section block and lot 39.1-1-21.100. Whereas the Town of Ulster Planning Board is in receipt of an application for a residential subdivision and development, hereafter project application, on a 106.6 acre parcel of land located in the Town of Ulster, hereafter the Town, Ulster County, New York, identified on the town's official tax map as section block and lot 39.1-1-21.100, hereafter the Ulster parcel, by Xena Development LLC, hereafter the project sponsor. And whereas the project application seeks Ulster Planning Board approval for construction of a 32-lot subdivision consisting of 30 single-family residential lots, one lot for the construction of a 2,400 square foot accessory recreation fitness facility for use by the subdivision's residents, and one 2.34 acre non-buildable lot that will be transferred to the adjacent Ruby Rod and Gun Club, Inc. The project, all of which is hereafter referred to as the project. The project sponsor also seeks site plan approval from the Ulster Planning Board for the 2,400 square foot accessory recreation / fitness facility. And whereas a portion of the project site is located in the town of Woodstock and consists of an existing private road known as Eastwoods Drive on parcels identified as section 38.2, block 1, lots 43 and 44 on the town of Woodstock official tax map, and a parcel containing an active Federal Aviation Administration FAA airstrip over which Eastwoods Drive is proposed to be extended, identified as section 38.2, block 1, lot 38.100 on the town of Woodstock official tax map. Those two parcels hereafter referred to as the Woodstock parcels. The project will require approval from the town of Woodstock for access to the 32-lot subdivision and specifically for improvements to portions of Eastwood Drive and to extend it approximately 1,200 feet to the Ulster parcel. And whereas there are two other parcels in the town of Woodstock which are not proposed to be used or disturbed in connection with the project, but which the County of Ulster Department of Health and/or the town of Woodstock may determine are part of the subdivision tract due to their being contiguous and in common ownership. A 4.64 acre parcel containing an existing residence identified as SBL, section block and lot 38.2-1-39 on the town of Woodstock official tax map, and a vacant 432.8 acre parcel of land identified as section block and lot 38.2-1-67 on the town of Woodstock official tax map. And whereas the Ulster Planning Board's consideration of the project is an action subject to the State Environmental Quality Review Act, SECRA, Article 8 of the Environmental Conservation Law and its implementing regulations at 6 NYCRR Part 617. And whereas the project sponsor submitted a full environmental assessment form hereafter FEAF Part 1, and on or about May 13, 2025, the Ulster Planning Board considered the same and determined that the project is a type 1 action pursuant to 6 NYCRR Part 617, and declared its intent to serve as SECRA lead agency, hereafter lead agency, for a coordinated SECRA review pursuant to 6 NYCRR 617.6. And whereas on or about May 13th of 2025, the Ulster Planning Board transmitted notice of intent to serve as lead agency and Part 1 of the FEAF completed by the project sponsor to all identified, involved, and interested agencies pursuant to 6 NYCRR 617.6. Paragraph B3, and whereas on or about June 5, 2025, the Town of Woodstock Planning Board objected to the Ulster Planning Board assuming lead agency status, and a request was thereafter filed with the Commissioner of the New York State Department of Environmental Conservation, hereafter NYSDEC, to resolve the dispute and designate the lead agency pursuant to 6 NYCRR 617.6B5. And whereas on or about October 29th of 2025, the New York State DEC Commissioner issued a determination of lead agency designating the Ulster Planning Board as lead agency. And whereas the Ulster Planning Board considered the project application at several meetings between April 2024 and July 2026, during which it provided the project sponsor with numerous comments, and at which public comment was also permitted. And whereas the Ulster Planning Board was assisted in its review by the town's engineer and the town's planner. And whereas the Ulster Planning Board considered all application materials and comments related to the project and project application corresponded with the project sponsor regarding several environmental review considerations, and discussed the project with the project sponsor at several Ulster Planning Board meetings. The relevant materials, comments, meetings, and correspondence include, but are not limited to those listed in the attached project review record appended hereto as Exhibit A. And whereas pursuant to 6 NYC RR 617.6, paragraph 8.2, the Ulster Planning Board considered and prepared parts 2 and 3 of the FEAF. The project sponsor provided an updated FEAF Part 1 utilizing the new form effective on June 12, 2026, and the Ulster Planning Board prepared an updated FEAF Part 2 utilizing the new form effective on June 12th of 2026, which documents the Ulster Planning Board formally adopted at its meeting on July 14th, 2026. The final FEAF Parts 1 and 2 were recirculated to the involved and interested agencies on or about July 22nd of 2026 and are appended hereto as Exhibit B. And whereas the Ulster Planning Board, 1, reviewed and considered the FEAF and criteria for determining significance in 6 NYC RR 617.7C, and 2, identified the relevant areas of environmental concern. 3, thoroughly analyzed and identified relevant areas of environmental concern and determined that the action may have a significant adverse impact on the environment. And 4, set forth its determination of significance in a written form containing a reasoned elaboration and reference to supporting documentation appended hereto as part of Exhibit C. Now therefore be it resolved that 1, the Ulster Planning Board has determined it has complied fully with the procedural requirements of 6 NYC RR Part 617. 2, based on the foregoing factual recitals and after comprehensive review of the project application and supporting documentation, the criteria listed in SECRA 6 NYC RR 617.7 and the attached FEAF Part 3 and negative declaration findings, the Ulster Planning Board as lead agency for this Type 1 action coordinated review determines that the project will not result in any significant adverse environmental impacts and the preparation of an environmental impact statement is not required. This resolution and enclosed FEAF Part 2, FEAF Part 3, and written negative declaration findings shall be filed in accordance with the secret regulation at 6 NYCRR 617.12. The Ulster Planning Board authorizes the chairman to take such further steps as might be necessary to discharge the lead agency's responsibilities on this action, including the filing of a negative declaration with all involved agencies and publishing notice in the Environmental Notice Bulletin. 5, upon filing the negative declaration in accordance with 6 NYCRR 617.12, the preliminary plat shall be deemed complete for purposes of town law, section 276, paragraph 5C, and the applicable time periods for preliminary plat review shall commence upon such filing. And 6, this resolution shall take effect immediately.
Okay, you've heard the resolution. Make a motion, we move forward.
I second it.
Okay, motion made and seconded. Roll call vote, please.
Mr. Mispel.
Yes.
Mr. Moustakis.
Yes.
Mr. Stoll.
Yes.
Ms. Whalen. Yep. Chairman Alvarez.
Yes. Okay. We have a resolution.
Shame on you.
Can I just add something?
Shame
Chair.
on
Excuse me,
all of
excuse
you.
me, Excuse me, Chair, I want to add that, on the advice of our outside counsel on Twitter, they recommend we do not make a motion at a public hearing at the September meeting, rather than do the required secret filings, and then in September, make a motion to schedule a public hearing for October.
We'll do that. We have to find a place to hold a public hearing.
That's true too.
So do we need, because usually there's a 60-day default once we get the filing, should we ask the applicant for a 30-day extension on that, since we're pushing it?
We can do that.
Yeah, the counsel for the applicant
at it, you know, we want to do this the right way, so, at the September meeting, we'll have a resolution, scheduling public.
Would you be able to repeat why we're not able to speak publicly before then?
I'm sorry, the question is what?
Why is the public not able to speak before then?
The question is, why can't the public speak before the public hearing?
That's the purpose of the public hearing, is to allow public comment on the subdivision application.
But it's after the resolution.
That's how the seeker timeline unfortunately, is set forward.
So,
But it's what-
state law requires this board either adopt a negative declaration or find a draft environmental impact statement complete on this project before it holds a public hearing.
I think the
So-
questioner is asking why the board did not exercise its discretionary ability to offer a public hearing during seeker,
Yeah.
not after seeker is closed.
We also know that the secret guidelines have changed in service of affordable housing, which doesn't sound like that's the aim of this project.
They've also just violated state law for taking this action.
Are we done?
First, I want to thank you and your team for
Where's
doing
their lawyer
a ton
telling
of
them
work.
they can't do that?
Found the right way through it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay.
You've also violated state law